Well, hello everyone. It is Karen Ann Harlos, the Pink Parliamentarian, with your regular quick and easy tips on Robert's Rules of Order. I am a registered parliamentarian with the National Association of Parliamentarians, and I am available for hire by your organization. You can find out more at pinkparliamentarian.com, or you can write me at pinkparliamentarian@gmail.com. I also do offer brief free consultations, and my regular rates are very reasonable. I've done a lot of work in the political arena, with some time as a floor parliamentarian and many more times as a convention parliamentarian, in addition to working with several nonprofits. My philosophy is people first, that we don't work for the rules, that the rules work for us. And if that sounds like a good fit, please get in touch. So most people know that you can amend all main motions, at least to an extent, and all primary amendments. However, amendments must be germane to the motion it is proposing to amend. Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, RONR 1216, describes germanity, and yes, that is a word I made up. I derivationally suffixified it. Take that. So, it describes germanity as involving the same question that is raised by the motion to which it is applied. And when it is a secondary amendment, an amendment, its germanity must be to the primary amendment, not just to the motion that the primary amendment is intending to modify. An amendment cannot sneakily introduce an independent question under the guise of an amendment, but it can. And so many people mess this up. It can be hostile to or even defeat the spirit of the original question. Man, have I seen that messed up so many times. Now, that does seem simple enough, but in practice, like so many things, it's not always clear. RONR 1217 does, though, give a couple of foundational principles to consider. So listen to these principles, and these will guide some of the further discussion. So, one, during the session in which the assembly has decided a question, another main motion raising the same or substantially the same question cannot be introduced. And number two, while a motion has been temporarily disposed of, no other motion can be admitted that might conflict with one of the possible final decisions on the first motion. So let's keep those in mind. R1R 1218 gives some questions that you should be asking yourself in order to determine whether an amendment is germane. So, could, after the adoption, rejection, or temporary disposal of the present main motion, the essential idea of the amendment be introduced as an independent resolution during the same session? Because remember, if it cannot be introduced, you've just foreclosed the opportunity for this idea to be introduced. So that amendment then would be germane. It has to be admitted because it cannot be admitted later as a separate question. Now, that test can be used like as an inclusive test. It can be used to determine if something is in order, but it's not a reliable exclusionary test to determine when an amendment is not in order. Since something can be legitimately germane, even if it could be raised later. And if the presiding officer is ever in doubt, per RONR 1221, he should present the question of whether or not the amendment is germane to the assembly for their judgment, for their determination. Now remember, It can be germane and go so far as to reverse the meaning of the motion, such as by substituting the word commend for censure, but it cannot be unrelated. So, if the main motion is to paint the clubhouse red, it would not be germane to strike out paint the clubhouse and substitute dye the canoe. But changing the color would be germane, such as strike out red and insert pink. Big surprise. Now, a secondary amendment follows the same rules. It must be germane to the primary amendment. And further, it can't amend words outside of the primary amendment. I decided to dust off my copy of Parliamentary Law, and General Robert gives an example from which I learned something from my preparation for the show. You should always be learning. And he said, I quote, "The following illustrations will be of assistance in determining when an amendment is germane to the main motion. A motion is pending to confer a certain honor upon Mr. Brown. You go, Mr. Brown. And it is then moved to amend by inserting and Mr. Jones after Brown. This amendment is out of order if the main motion is strictly a personal one, intended to compliment Mr. Brown for some act in which Mr. Jones had no share. If no one else shared in the act, no amendment is germane that does not bear on the question of honoring Mr. Brown. So while an amendment would be germane that increased or diminished or in any way changed the honor conferred on Mr. Brown, an amendment to insert and Mr. Jones or one to strike out Brown and insert Jones would not be germane and therefore would be out of order. I found that quite illustrative. Now, he went on to say B. If, however, Brown and Jones conjointly had done the worthy act for which this honor was to be conferred on Mr. Brown, then the amendment inserting and Mr. Jones would be germane. But another amendment inserting and Mr. Smith, who had not participated in the act thus honored, would not be germane. Okay, that's the end of the quote. And that really helped me, and I hope it helped you. Remember, though, not only must any amendments, primary and secondary, be germane, and in the case of the primary amendment, be germane to the main motion, and in the case of the secondary amendment, be germane to the primary amendment, but the rules also apply to debate. So R1R 12.7, subparagraph 5, it's a standard descriptive characteristics, well, at least it's one of them, for amendments, states that they are debatable whenever the motion to which it is applied is debatable. But such debate must be confined to the desirability of the amendment and must not extend to the merits of the motion to be amended, except as may be necessary to determine whether the amendment is advisable. And where this gets kind of, I don't want to say tricky, but sometimes it can be irritating to people who are waiting in line to speak. Someone makes a motion, and all of a sudden, what they wanted to say, they can't say it right then because they were next in line because debate is then on the amendment, and what they had to say might not be germane to the amendment. It does take a skilled presiding officer to navigate this. All right, that is going to be it for today, but there's going to be a part 2 because while I was researching this, another topic jumped out at me, and that it is not in order to change one type of motion into another. Is that confusing at all? We'll go into it more next time. So what do you think? Do you have any questions? Let me know, and thank you so much for joining me. And I do hope this helped and gave you food for thought. In closing, remember again that I am available for hire by your organization. Find out more at pinkparliamentarian.com or write me at pinkparliamentarian@gmail.com. I'd love it if you would subscribe to this channel and check out my other channels. Pink Flame of Liberty, which looks at politics from a distinctly libertarian point of view, and Jurassic Dictionary, where I examine dying, dead, or just plain interesting, unusual word. It's on the opposite. I would say week, but I don't do these weekly. But I alternate. This show, Jurassic Dictionary. This show, Jurassic Dictionary. Pink Flame of Liberty is much more regular. That is my main channel. Okay, until next time, I hope you have an awesome night, day, or whatever time it happens to be in your part of this wonderful world. Bye-bye now.